It was March 26, 2010, the first day of digging in Virginia 14. The digger, P-Cap, started his adventure on Coles Hill. At about 9:30 a.m., he got a good strong signal. With his heart pumping in anticipation, he started to dig, and dig, and dig. Finally, at about 18 inches in the ground, he found the pot you see here. Very carefully he removed the dirt from around the pot and gently removed it from the hole. But his adventures would not stop here. As he removed the pot, he noticed what looked like a metal drum buried directly below it. Again, he carefully and meticulously moved the dirt away so as not to mar the metal drum. He soon discovered the drum contained the parts and pieces of 4 decommissioned canteens. All of them had been axed, pierced with bayonets, crushed, or otherwise intentionally put out of commission prior to their being buried 145 years ago. As to be expected, none of them had spouts. Although very rusty and very fragile, P-Cap was able to harvest just about all the parts and pieces of the canteens, but unfortunately the metal drum was beyond salvage and disintegrated on the spot. Before it was all over, P-Cap was able to rescue a bunch of knapsack parts, 38 iron buckles, lots of J-hooks and triangles, some brass studs, and many other great relics from the same pit. When asked about the canteens and their condition, P-Cap remarked that these things deserved to be remembered correctly and not destroyed. Afraid the task at hand was beyond his capabilities, he sent the canteens home with me for preservation and reconstruction. I will begin the restoration preservation process by unpacking the canteens from the box, handling them as carefully as I can, while at the same time removing the dirt that was lodged in them for the past 145 years, and as well as trying to rescue any little parts and pieces of the canteen that may have ended up in the dirt over the years. Much of the structural integrity of the canteens, as you see here, is due in part to the amount of dirt that was caked in them or packed in them over the years. Once this dirt is removed, you can expect that some of the canteen will collapse under its own weight. They're very rusty, very fragile, and they're going to be extremely delicate to work with. After they're unpacked, I'm placing them in a pH-balanced bath made up of mild surfactants and cleaners that do not contain any acids or alkalis of any kind. They will remain in this solution for at least 24 hours until I can get a chance to take them out and rinse them off and see exactly what I have to work with. Well, good morning. Here is the bath with the canteens in it. And I've preheated the water in my cleaner there to 100 degrees, and it feels pretty warm to me. So I'm going to get started now with the rinsing of the canteens to see what we have. I'm going to reach over into the bath and grab the first canteen, which appears to be a smooth side canteen that had an axe stuck through it. And I'm going to rinse it off real carefully. I've got some foam there to catch all the debris and parts and pieces that might fall out. And also, as you work with these things, they're going to come apart and break apart, so I'll need to be able to capture all those pieces as well. For the past 145 years, dirt has served as the bonding agent to hold these canteens together. Now that it's gone, the canteen will come apart, and revealing both halves of the canteen. I will complete the rinsing process and set it aside and start on another one. As you can see here, several parts and pieces fell off onto the foam. I will gather those and set them aside with this canteen. This next canteen appears to be a bullseye canteen that has had an axe stuck through it 145 years ago to decommission it before it was buried. This canteen is very fragile and has lots of parts and pieces to it. I'll complete the rinsing on this one set it aside, and then I'll reach into the bath and grab the third canteen to see what we have to work with on that one. This canteen appears to be another bullseye canteen. Unfortunately, it's in many pieces, and it's probably going to be the most difficult canteen of the four. We'll clean it up real well, set it aside, and see what number 4 has in store. You can see many pieces fall out of it as the rinsing process continues. The fourth and final canteen appears to be another smooth side canteen. It's in parts and pieces as well, and I'm sure many other parts and pieces will fall off as the rinsing process continues. But I won't bore you with that process. I'll be back with the next stage of preservation momentarily. While I was rinsing the canteens and cleaning the dirt off after removing them from their bath, I had a big stainless steel pot heating in the oven. It was half filled with this chemical called evaporust. The fluid was heated to 100 degrees. With the canteens still being a tad bit warm, I'll put them onto hardware cloth and submerge them into this pan where they'll sit for 15 to 20 minutes. After these two have soaked for 15 to 20 minutes, I'll pour in some more evaporust, go in and heat it up to 100 degrees, and soak the other 2 canteens. The purpose of the evaporust treatment is to stop the rusting process on these canteens. Now that the canteens have been treated with the evaporust, I'm going to take them back to the parts washer where I'll give them their final rinsing. This is what the 4 canteens look like now that they've been washed, rinsed, and treated with evaporust. They're ready for their next stage of reconstruction and preservation. The next step in this process is the reconstruction phase. During this phase, we'll treat everything like you see here with a coat of rust fix, and then try to use the magnifying glass to match up all the pieces and parts and see if we can make any sense out of where these pieces go. Well, I've been able to identify quite a few pieces so far, and using super amber glue, which is a hot melt glue applied at 270 degrees, I've got many of these pieces back into place. As you can see here, this canteen is well on its way to being reconstructed. Hello. Rebuilding 4 canteens. They're so crumbly and bent up that you can't really straighten them. You can just make them look more presentable by putting the pieces all back together. No, I'm just going to put together what I can. The challenging part about this restoration project and the reconstruction is that none of these canteens are very well defined as far as their borders and their shapes and what have you, because they've all been smashed and crushed and sliced and diced. You really have to pay attention to which piece goes where. Imagine, if you will, taking a piece of paper, balling it up into a ball, then tearing it into pieces, and then trying to reconstruct the ball that you just tore up. It's almost like putting together a 4-dimensional jigsaw puzzle, even though the human mind can only visualize 3 dimensions. But I enjoy the challenge, and I find it very rewarding being able to save some of the history that these great canteens represent. So let me get busy and finish the reconstruction phase of this project and treat them with some of the Total Solutions rust converter, and I'll be back momentarily with the finished product. My goal for this project was not to rebuild the canteens and make them look perfect and symmetrical, but rather to put the pieces back in place, straighten them out just a bit, and preserve these in relic condition. They're unique because they have all the decommissioned marks on them, the knife marks, the axe marks, the bayonet marks like you see right here. And some of them were too bent up to do anything with and too fragile, such as this one here. This one would have broken all to pieces had I tried to straighten it out. So I left it like it was in its relic condition, just put the pieces back together. I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. It's been a lot of fun, and I am honored to have had the opportunity to take on this project. Thanks, PCAP. This has been an Albemarle Digger presentation. Thanks for watching.